Welcome, gentlemen. As I'm sure you can tell by the intro and the thumbnail, this video is not about a gun. But it's my channel, so I'll do what I want. That's right. This video is a little arts and crafts video for you. I made this Halo 3 Hayabusa helmet for a buddy of mine. And we're gonna show you how I did it. So to start, I printed this helmet on my Ender 3 Max Neo. This helmet is pretty huge, so I had to print it in two parts, the front half and the back half. The front half took around 120 hours, and the back half took around 160 hours to print. Some people tell you just to wait until the build plate is cooled to room temp and the print will pop right off, but that has not been my experience. So after the plate cools, I just toss it in the freezer for a little bit and then it pops right off. Removing the supports, I sliced my thumb pretty good. This is after it stopped bleeding, so it doesn't look quite as bad as it actually was. This print came out pretty good, but it was fairly wavy. I printed it in just regular PLA from Creality. Little dick butt Easter egg in there for you. I did not know that was there until I printed it. I then sanded the front with 100 grit sandpaper to knock down those printer lines. And then after I cleaned it off, I primed it with just Rust-Oleum flat gray primer. And just got a nice coat on there. Peep the Helldiver's helmet in the back there. Back to sanding, this time with 220 grit sandpaper, which to be honest was a little too fine. I should have stayed at like 180 at the most at this point, maybe even a little bit grittier. Then after the sanding, I washed and dried this piece and put a second coat of primer on. You'll start to see a pattern of prime, sand, rinse and repeat until it was as smooth as I wanted it to be. This took quite a lot of time. The top part was pretty wavy as well. It had a lot of print lines in it and stuff. But in the game, the top part has a lot of texture to it that wasn't in the model that I printed. So I just kind of used that to my advantage to get a little more of that look. And while I'm doing all of this, the back half is printing. Now you see those orange parts, that's that's Bondo glazing and spot putty. I went pretty crazy with this stuff, filling in the cracks and the printer lines, but it sands very nicely and it really helps to smooth the finish. You can see there that it's already way smoother than it started with. And back to sanding and priming. And just the same process with the back half. Putting the two pieces together, I used super glue and industrial strength adhesive, just because the super glue dries real fast, and then the industrial strength adhesive just holds it together nicely. And then I just went over that whole seam with that Bondo filler to try and really eliminate it so you can't actually see the seam. And then back to sanding and priming, and sanding and priming. For the base layer of paint, I used Rust-Oleum metallic, just that nice light silver color. and I just painted the whole thing. I wanted like the base layer that the red went on top of to be silver too, just to get a shinier, more metal look. After that was completely dry, I masked up all the parts that I wanted to stay silver, and let me tell you, that was a pain in the ass. Lots of nooks and crannies to get the tape in, and I just knew from the get-go that I was going to have to go back and clean some stuff up. I took my time with it, but it was still pretty messy. This was my favorite part. Finally get some color on this bad boy. I knew I wanted it to be red from the beginning, and I just really liked the color. The initial coat came out pretty good, but like I said, I was going to have to go back and do some detail work and clean it up. And now I'm not an artist. I cleaned up the lines the best that I could, but they're definitely not perfect. There's some waviness to them, whatever. After the cleanup, I went over it, spraying the lighter metallic paint very lightly over the whole thing to give the red a more metallic look, and then it kind of just brings the whole thing together. And then I went over it again, but instead of with the light metallic, I went over it with the Krylon metallic dark metal color, and it just sort of gives it a uniform coat. And then after that, I just went over it with a high gloss clear coat. It does fit on my head. It's a little snug, little tight on the ears, but it does come on and off. And then here it is next to some other helmets I made. And there you have it, boys. The Halo 3 Hayabusa helmet. It doesn't have a visor because I don't have a vacuum form set up just yet. I might in the future, because I've been on this helmet making kick for a little while, but I also might print one just to set in there when it sits on the shelf, but you wouldn't be able to see through it. But the file for the helmet did not come with a visor file, so that's the other thing. But anyway, hope you enjoyed sort of a tutorial, more of just an overview on the process that I did. Please don't unsubscribe from me. I will keep making gun content. Just set up the Daniel H9 with an RMR and an X300, so stay tuned.